Heidi McNiff Johnson is a Mayfield lifer. She began her Holy Child education in kindergarten at Mayfield Junior School and had graduated from Mayfield Senior School in 1986. Both in her career and personal life, Heidi has modeled in the most beautiful ways the Mayfield motto, action, not words. As the executive director of the Association of Catholic Student Councils, also known as TASC, a nonprofit student leadership organization for middle and high school students, Heidi empowers young people, and particularly our own Mayfield Senior School students, to become the faith-filled leaders that we need so urgently. She is the creator of the popular website Charity Matters, where she writes about the essential work of small nonprofit organizations, using her voice to make a difference while connecting people with important causes. In 2003, Heidi used her background in sales and marketing to help start an organization to provide chaplains to Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Today, the Spiritual Care Guild at Children's Hospital provides non-denominational chaplains on a 24/7 basis, serving the spiritual needs of parents and family members while their children are hospitalized. Now 150 members strong, the Guild has raised millions of dollars. It has created an endowment and a multitude of support systems for children, families, and staff at Children's, becoming a national model for pediatric chaplaincy. In 2011, Heidi received Mayfield's highest alumni honor, the Cornelian Award, for exemplifying Cornelia Connolly's devotion to service and compassion. A proud USC alumna, Heidi's ties to education are extensive and include co-chairing the Board of Trustees at Verbin Day High School in Watts, while serving on the Chancellor's Advisory Board at Texas Christian University. Heidi has been heard to say that Mayfield is part of her DNA. Her 5 aunts are Mayfield graduates, including Sister Sheila McNiff, class of 1956, a Holy Child sister and former principal of the junior school. Both Sister Sheila and Heidi presently serve on the Mayfield Senior School Board of Trustees. Heidi and her husband Ron are the proud parents of 3 sons, Hunter, Henry, and Ford. It is with deep gratitude and love that I present to you our 2016 Mayfield Senior School of the Holy Child commencement speaker, Heidi McNiff Johnson.
Good evening, distinguished faculty, alumni, proud parents, my fellow trustees, and most importantly, the class of 2016. You did it. Congratulations to each of you on this incredible accomplishment, and thank you for including me in your very special day. When Kate asked me to do this commencement speech, I have to admit that I was more than a little bit surprised. Because after all, during my 4 years here at Mayfield, the administration spent much of their time trying to have me removed from the school for being, well, less than a model student. It seems a number of my actions were not honorable, and I found myself making at least annual visits to the headmaster's office during my time here. And since I promised Kate I would not share the details of those stories today, I will say that one of the more infamous incidents involved a group of friends, a Spanish class, and a punch bowl. And I will let all of you fill in the blanks. However, I will say that nothing that involves a punch bowl ever ends well. Of course, hindsight is everything, because back in 1984, what was considered to be perhaps mischievous, today, as I think back and reflect, might show early signs of leadership and the ability to bring people together. But who knew? But today is your day, so I will not be sharing any more of my fabled tales from Mayfield, but rather I will use this as a starting point as you prepare to launch in the next half of your life. But I will say, being here today is a full circle moment, and one I truly never, ever dreamed of. But I thought to myself, what words of wisdom could I, the average student with a somewhat checkered past, possibly impart on each of you that would help you on your journey as you walk through those gates today. I have to admit that as a mother of 3 sons, that I found myself possibly for the first time ever wondering what to say. And when I finally realized what I wanted to say, I was surprised to discover that the answer was right in front of me, because it was right here at Mayfield. 5 years ago, when you first looked at Mayfield as a prospective freshman, you received a brochure with beautiful girls on it, standing in front of those gates in their dress uniforms, and the brochure has a slogan that says, "Mayfield, a place where your gifts come alive." You may not realize it, but those halls have been whispering to you for the past 4 years, telling you about your gifts and your passions, be it in academics, sports, arts, or even maybe a punch bowl. These gifts will lead you to a life full of purpose. My guess is that brochure isn't what convinced you to attend Mayfield, but you knew there was something special about this place that you couldn't quite name, but it made you feel as if you belonged. That innate feeling was your first decision heading on your road toward purpose. And while the brochure is just a slogan, now 4 years later, it doesn't really feel that way. What gifts have you discovered in your time at Mayfield, and how will you use them to serve others? Pablo Picasso said, "The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away." And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about today. How will you find your way to a life full of purpose? It sounds so big and lofty, yet in reality, it's exactly what the brochure said. Because once you find your gifts, it becomes the magical intersection of where your passion and purpose create this elusive thing that we call happiness. So often, we confuse glamour and success as the ultimate goal, when in reality, the goal is purpose. Your life is not the images on Instagram or Snapchat, but rather it is your light within that is your life. Instagram and Snapchat are the easy ways to act as life's armchair quarterbacks, to sit back and watch. Let's not be the ones that watch lives, but the ones that live our lives. Watching is easy. Getting up and doing is living. Be a doer, not a watcher. So how do we get from here to there? 3 simple words: act, get involved. I know that each of you has spent 4 years here, not only carrying a rigorous academic load, but also beginning to discover those gifts that the brochure discussed. You played sports, were in dance, theater, art, music, service, clubs, and the list goes on and on. So I have 6 simple thoughts on how to live a life full of purpose. Number 1, exercise. I know you've waited 4 years to hear this, but I have to start with this. The reality is, college is a high-caloric 4-year event, and you must pace yourselves. Those cafeteria trays will not have fabulous dinners that your parents made for you every night. Pizza, froyo, and candy are not a meal. So, you have to join a gym, get a group of friends, walk, dance, jump on your bed, run up and down the dorm stairs, and not only in the case of fire alarms. Do yoga, swim, move. You only have one body, so start caring for it now, and you just may thank me later. And the only way to do this is to act and get involved. Number 2, make friends, real ones, not followers. You know, the old-fashioned, in-person kind. Next year, you will be alone. Yes, alone. You will head off to college like a blank sheet of paper, able to reinvent yourself. It is freedom, it is fun, it is terrifying, and it is life. But just as when you started here at Mayfield, you needed to act and get involved. And once again, it's time to do the same. You will be starting all over again. I left Mayfield for University of Arizona, not sure if it was the place for me. I joined a sorority, a tennis group, took classes that interested me, and met like-minded people. Those people became my family away from home. You need your people. Yes, you have your old ones and your social media peeps, but a life full of purpose is not one spent alone, but with those you acted and who you lived your life with. So act, get involved. Number 3, road bumps. When you do hit that road bump in the road, and trust me, you will, there will be many obstacles in your path. We all hit them. Some of us already have, and for many of you, they are lying in the road ahead. Those road bumps are God's way of saying it's time to stop and change direction. They are normal. Do not freak out. Repeat, road bumps are normal. Do not freak out. My first roadblock hit my junior year of college. I came home from Arizona and proudly announced to my family that I'd been accepted to USC and was transferring. My mother also had an announcement to make. My father's business was bankrupt, and they had no way to help me with this wonderful new decision of mine. So for the first time in my life, I realized what I wanted and valued, and that was my education. I had spent my life until that point on the receiving end of things, and I had yet to learn the art of giving. This roadblock became another opportunity for reinvention, and if I wanted to go to USC, I was going to need to act, get involved by getting a job to put myself through college. As St. Francis of Assisi said, start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. And that obstacle became one of my greatest gifts and proudest achievements, my hard-earned college diploma. If you act and get involved, you'll be much better at rolling through those road bumps. Number 4, serve, serve, and serve. There are roadblocks, and then there are major obstacles. I'm currently reading a great book called The Obstacle is the Way, and author Ryan Holiday says, there is no good or bad without us. There is only perception. There is the event itself, and the story we tell ourselves about what it means. For me, that event was November 9th, 2002, when my parents were involved in a horrible car accident. They were on vacation in Mexico with their best friends, 8 of them, 4 couples, when they were hit by a bus. Every couple lost a spouse, 3 dead, including my mother, and 1 paraplegic. That loss rocked this community, our family, and my life in unbelievable ways. It taught all of us just how precious life is. You can be with your friends in one moment of complete joy. In the blink of an eye, it can all change. But it also showed us what community means and does. And in our loss, we were held up by you, this community. And if we spent a lifetime trying to pay back what was given to us in those difficult weeks following that accident, we could not. Because even in our loss, we were blessed with so much. And a year later, when my friend Father John Ziegler invited 10 of us down to Children's Hospital Los Angeles and told us that there was only one chaplain for the 300,000 children that go through the doors of CHLA each year, we were stunned. There was no chaplains at night, no chaplains on the weekend, no chaplains before surgery or last rites, no one when the helicopter landed. And I knew from my experience the year before that we had to help those that did not have all we had in our moment of crisis and pay it forward. In that moment, almost 14 years ago, we founded the nonprofit Spiritual Care to provide chaplains of all faiths, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to serve those children and families. And in founding Spiritual Care, grief became replaced by serving others who had so much less. And this clarity brought purpose to my loss, as giving has brought more joy than receiving ever could. Serving others heals. No matter what you do not have, someone else has less. There is a time to cry and be sad, and then regardless of the event and what we tell ourselves it means, we have to act and get involved. It is the only way to move toward purpose. Number 5, one thing will lead to the next. When your life starts moving toward purpose, you know it because crazy and unexplained things begin to happen. And for me, one of them was meeting a woman named Christy Hauser. She said she wanted to join our group, Spiritual Care Guild. She came to a meeting. She looked at us and said, "No, I don't think I want to join this group, but I'd like to be a hospital chaplain." This beautiful blonde Toluca Lake housewife did not strike me as a hospital chaplain by any means, but I introduced her to the people at CHLA, and she went back to school for 3 years to find her purpose. And 3 years later, on her first solo call as a chaplain at CHLA, she was asked to go visit a family with a 3-year-old girl that was dying of bone cancer. Christy walked in the room and she heard a familiar voice, and she turned off the CD player. The girl's mother asked her why she was doing this, because the only things that brought her daughter comfort were her pink fuzzy blanket and her Disney Princess soundtrack. Christy informed the family that the voice in the CD was actually her own, She had recorded that CD 10 years before and was the voice of the Disney princesses, and she now wanted to sing those songs directly to this little girl, which she did every single day until she died, and then she sang them at her funeral. I'm not sharing this story to make you sad, but I'm rather sharing it to tell you that when you are living your purpose, there is no denying that you are in the right place. You know that you've been put there, and there is no greater joy than knowing that you're doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing with your life. Had Christy not acted and got involved, she may have missed a path to her destiny. A life of purpose begins with one step and then another. Today's spiritual care at Children's Hospital is a national template for pediatric chaplaincy. It has raised millions of dollars in a new interfaith chapel at CHLA, and chaplains like Christy Hauser are now part of the medical team. A life of purpose has many roads and many lessons. Blake McCoskey, the Tom Shoe founder, said, if you organize your life around your passion, you can turn your passion into your story, and your story into something bigger, something that matters. But a life of purpose is like a magnet, and good things keep coming to it. And it gets bigger and expands, as does your story. And after spiritual care, my story got a little bit bigger when I became fascinated with the 1.7 million nonprofit founders and their journeys in finding their purpose. So I wrote a TV show and a blog called Charity Matters and began interviewing hundreds of nonprofit founders and discovered that these amazing people had taken an obstacle and turned it into something incredible. But a rare few did their work from gratitude, which leads me to number 6 and my final point. Number 6, be grateful. Gratitude is key. One of the people that I interviewed for Charity Matters was a woman named Carolyn Blaszek. She's from New York City, and in September 2001, she was a stay-at-home mom in Toluca Lake with 2 small children. She was in Sherman Oaks. Christy was in Toluca Lake. And she talked to her elderly parents on September 10th, 2001, who informed her they were going to the doctors in the World Trade Center the next morning. When Carolyn turned on the news of the rest of the world, her panic and devastation were overwhelming. She frantically called her parents over and over for over a day before she heard the news. Her parents were both alive. They'd been trapped in the subway, and fate had spared them. And in show of gratitude for God for sparing her parents, she did something extreme in the days following September 11th. She loaded up that minivan and her children and headed to the Army recruiting office and told them she wanted to join the military. They saw her children, and her minivan, and they sent her off. So she went to the Navy, the Marines, and the Air Force, all who did the same. When the war started, Carolyn went to the USO, the only place that would have her. And she was sitting in the office one day when a young soldier walked in and asked if there was a chaplain. She said she was the only one there, and he told her he needed to talk to someone because he was shipping off to Iraq, and asked if he could talk to her. He began to tell her that his child had recently died, and his wife was so upset and bereft that she was leaving him. His mother had passed away, and that he knew that if and when he returned, there would be no one who cared for him when he came home. And Carolyn looked at him and said, I care. You can talk to me. He cried, she cried, and she never saw him again. But Carolyn was a doer. Always wanted to act and get involved. She called her girlfriends and asked them to come over and start making care packages in her living room for the troops. And they did. They hit a few roadblocks with the military, but not to be deterred by obstacles. She kept packing those boxes. And one box became 2, became 200, became a nonprofit called Operation Gratitude that today has sent over 1 million care packages to troops around the world, all because she was grateful. She acted, got involved. This brings me back to the punch bowl. How does a less than perfect student with a less than stellar high school track record end up here in this moment with all of you? From a journey filled with exercise, friends met along the way, road bumps, failures, obstacles, service to others, one thing leading to the next, and a heart full of gratitude. So what does this mean? It means that we are not defined by our past, but rather by what we do with each moment. We are defined by our actions. You must always stay moving. Action is in our DNA, as our Holy Child motto has taught us. Act even if you fail. Failure is the other side of the coin, but it is part of the equation. You must act, you must fail. And in life, it doesn't matter what happens to you or where you came from. It matters with what you do with what happens. And the only way you will do something spectacular is to use all that you have been given, including the obstacles and the roadblocks. No one is coming to save you now. The safety net is now gone. However you choose to use your precious gifts to the greatest good, and whatever path you follow is your journey. It is that magical intersection of passion and purpose that create this elusive thing we call happiness. And that is the goal for a life full of purpose. If one thing dropped out of this funnel full of ideas and stories, one little drop of wisdom that is my gift to each of you, it is a gift of knowing that you, class of 2016, have been given everything you need for your journey. Just remember, act, get involved, and for goodness sakes, stay away from the punch bowl. Congratulations, class of 2016.